Hello and welcome back to the Jerusalem Post. I'm your host, Tamar Uriel-Beeri, and I'm joined today by Ilan Sinelnikov. Ilan is the founder and president of the International Student Supporting Israel movement, a speaker, blogger, and a coach on the topics of Israel, campus advocacy, and grassroots activism. Ilan, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Very excited.
Ilan, you founded Student Supporting Israel 12 years ago now. What was your initial motivation for doing so? Was there a specific catalyst, a specific event?
Yes, actually, we started 12 years ago at the University of Minnesota in 2012. And what got us to get going was that me, as a freshman student, spring semester, I have seen the Israel Apartheid Week all over campus, events against Israel, a big 6-foot wall in front of the student union with a bunch of accusations against Israel that are unheard of. And myself and two other students, we decided to attend those events, attend the events that were hosted by a student club. It's called Students for Justice in Palestine, and to see who they are, who brings all of that to campus, and to start a counter club, a club that will be able to face SJP on our campus because there was not one. So we registered Students Supporting Israel. In the next day, at the Student Activity Office at the University of Minnesota, after we left the SJP Israel Apartheid Week events that promoted BDS at the time. And we got going with three simple goals in mind: to be visible, to be proactive, and to not just be a Jewish club. And 12 years later, SSI was registered and worked on over 200 college campuses in 3 different countries and all across North America.
Amazing. What, in your opinion, is unique to college life when it comes to expressions of anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism? As in, how does it really differ from other forms of expression of such, hateful sentiments?
Listen, in Students Supporting Israel, we always say that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, and we see it time after time on our college campuses. We see how the students who say that they're just anti-Zionist are fierce advocates for the abolition of the state of Israel and to make sure that there is no such a thing as the state of Israel. A recent example from University of Southern California, where the student there that was chosen to be a speaker at graduation, in her former tweets, she said there should not be a country like Israel. So on the college campuses, the problem is very big, and we see it every single time with the students that say that they are just anti-Zionism. They're like not Zionist, or they're like call Zionist students and smears, or say Zionists get out of our campus. That's a very popular chant. But frankly, they traffic anti-Semitism under every word they say and under every action they practice. We have seen a lot of students right now start being suspended from campuses, from different universities, but that only happens after they created such a hostile environment for Jewish students at the universities that only now some universities are taking action. So there's a big problem, there's a big challenge at the universities. And in our opinion, Students Supporting Israel, one of the biggest challenges is to make sure that we keep the word Zionism, the beautiful word that we know of, and we don't let other people define what Zionism is for us. Because this is what's happening. This is what the other side is trying to do. They try to take the word Zionism, smear it, and define it for Jewish students, not knowing or knowing that the majority of the Jewish students at the university level are Zionist. Even if they're not the most vocal or the most visible Zionists, they do have a connection to the state of Israel or to Israel. It's part of their identity. So this is the fight we're fighting on. And I'll tell you, if that would happen against any other minority community, the universities would be on their toes. They will be running to solve the situation. When it happens to the Jewish community, this is not the case. And even more sad, this is not the case after what happened on October 7th.
Yeah, I think that it has kind of something similar has happened in other minority groups, but the response has been much harsher than it has been when it comes to the Jewish community and anti-Zionism. But
Yeah.
I think the general view held by many pro-Israelis is that much of the anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism seen around the world, especially on college campuses today, is simply rooted in misinformation. Is that the stance of SSI? Or rather, what is, in your opinion, the best method in combating misinformation, especially when it comes to a community refusing to listen to the other side?
It's a little bit deeper than just misinformation, in our opinion, because people don't just wake up in the morning misinformed, and after October 7th, the largest massacre of Jewish people since World War II in a single day, they go out there in the thousands on the college campuses in support of Hamas. This is not something that happened overnight. It's a process that was happening over a span of decades on our college campuses, at least, you know. And what was happening there, it's not necessarily misinformation, in our opinion, but it was like re-education, you know, for decades on those campuses. The education in the political science departments, in the global studies departments, was very anti-Israel. You know, we know that a lot of Middle Eastern countries were investing money in academic departments in American college campuses. And when they invest that money and they send their professors to teach in those departments, they're not going to be necessarily Zionist professors, you know. And when you indoctrinate one class after another class, and it's over a span, I'm a professor there for 10 years, yet the students that are going to be graduating from my class, they will have maybe not a negative view of Israel, but for sure not a positive view of Israel. So what happens on the universities for so many years and so many decades, it's the re-education of students. Now, where does the misinformation comes in our opinion, it's especially in the era of social media. When social media got involved even more, that's when misinformation started controlling the conversation even more so. Because when you go on platforms like TikTok, that actually just yesterday we saw how the US House decides to ban TikTok if they're not going to sell their platform to be owned by some different hands. But when you go on TikTok, where most of the students get their news from those sources, on Snapchat, on Instagram, you know, a very little amount of students, very slim amount of students open the actual newspaper or watch the actual news in front of the TV to see what's happening. They go on social media as the number one feeder for their information. And on social media, there is such a big amount, there's such a large amount of people who spread misinformation about Israel, edited videos, and lies, accusations against Israel. And if I'm an 18-year-old or if I'm a 19-year-old, and that's what I see when I scroll down, let's say 2, 3 hours a day, some even more, of course I will be misinformed about Israel. And when I'm going to arrive to the college campus, together with the re-education of what happened for a few decades on those universities, I would be a strong supporter or let's say a strong advocate against the Jewish state. You know, how do you explain a college student in some random university that has no family in Israel, has no family, not even a Palestinian, has no involvement with the whole Middle East, becoming such a huge outspoken activist against the Jewish state? You know, it didn't happen overnight. This is something that in SSI we're trying to pick up. That's something that we try to find the students that are not against us to bring them towards our side and move them a little bit closer towards us or to have them see the large picture. But I'm telling you, the situation right now, as we see on the college campuses, is very much concerning. And concerning, this is a
Yeah.
lot word that they use.
That's actually the piece of data I was going to present. The Anti-Defamation League earlier in April reported a really horrific 140% increase in anti-Semitic incidents in 2023, and specifically of those 140%, there was a 321% increase of anti-Semitism on college campuses. So I'm curious, what is the SSI approach to responding to anti-Semitism on campus? Something that you can, I guess, impart on the different Jewish groups throughout campuses in the US but also abroad.
Anti-Semitism is the oldest virus in the history of the world. You know, it's been around for 3,000 years. SSI will not solve the issue of anti-Semitism, so there's any other organizations. But what we try to do in order to respond to anti-Semitism, it's first to empower our very own students. You know, when you have Jewish students, or not Jewish students either, because SSI it's not necessarily a Jewish organization, going to the college campus and they see all of it and they want to do something, a lot of times you ask yourself, what would be the first step, right? I'm a freshman, I'm a sophomore at the university. I want to fight for the Jewish people. I want to support Israel. What is the first step that I'm taking? So in SSI, at least our approach, it's let's bring those students to our organization and help them to build a student club. When you build a student club and you register a club with the university, all of a sudden it's not just you. You have a group of people around you. All of a sudden you have access to university programming or university tools in order to promote your cause or to promote your message. You know, what we try to do with SSI students, it's to empower them as much as possible so they will be the best advocates they could be. Because not a single person, neither did I. When I went to the University of Minnesota, I didn't go to school to become a pro-Israel activist. You know, I went to school to get my education. I went to school to play college soccer. I went to school to just be a normal college student. You know, but what I've seen and what I've faced drove me towards representing my country. Because Israel, it's where I'm from. Israel, it's the place I'm born. So the whole idea of SSI is to try to fight anti-Semitism by empowering our students to take that first step, to say that I am here in any, I am here, the one that's going to be starting a club, the one that will be posting the flyers and hanging the flyers at the university. I will be the one that's going to promote our social media, create a social media page and start posting on it and try to gain followers. I am the one that's going to start recruiting students to be part of my team. And then by empowering them to take that first step, creating a group around them to continue to become bigger and bigger and bigger, and not just Jewish, but to reach as many audiences as we can, not just preach to the choir. This is our approach. I hope that this approach will prove itself. I think that anti-Semitism will always be here, but the question is, it's not how bad anti-Semitism is, it's how strong we are.
That's kind of a beautiful way of looking at it. But I think something else to the perspective that's Student Supporting Israel has taken is really going into the legislative ends inside the different college campuses. I'm curious how the response to the Israel-Hamas war impacted the legislative efforts that SSI is, making within student governments.
Yes, so student governments are a huge fight for the whole Israel community because we know that what happens in student governments today might represent in 30 or 40 years what will happen in the political system in our country across North America later. So until today, we have passed 30 resolutions in student governments, even before the Hamas-Israel war, before the attack on Israel. And I myself, in 2014, passed a pro-Israel resolution in my student government because we take the approach that it's too late to wait until BDS is coming or an anti-Israel resolution is coming, and then we fight them on their terms. We need to propose our own resolutions. We need to run to student governments on our own and make sure that we are the ones that take initiative. And if SJP wants, they fight us on our terms. Sometimes we'll be successful, sometimes we won't be successful. Now, I'll give you two examples, one from Brandeis University, where a resolution earlier in the fall semester has passed to condemn Hamas, which was great. It failed in the first attempt. It needed to be regrouped, and then it passed on the second attempt. And at UC Santa Barbara, where a student senator named Ephraim proposed a resolution to a student government where the president of it is Tessa Wexler, the former president of SSI, the only Jewish Zionist president in the entire UC system in California. So those two have passed. At the same time, we tried to keep pushing more resolutions, and we had a few unsuccessful attempts. We'll be transparent. It's shocking, in my opinion, to see that the student governments are not able to condemn Hamas. Student governments will vote for ceasefire resolutions, many of them without a single call for the return of the hostages. They will vote for resolutions to promote BDS. Today, in a few hours at American University in DC, one day before Passover, BDS is being proposed in student government. When half of the Jewish students and our members of Students Supporting Israel already left home for Passover to be with their families, they're not even on campus. That's when they brought up BDS. So when you face this environment, it's very challenging. And the question is, again, they're going to continue proposing BDS resolutions. They're going to continue doing all of it. But the question is, what are we going to be doing? And in my opinion, and Students Supporting Israel view, there is two solutions to it. One, pro-Israel Zionist students need to run for student government. There's
So
just no other
I
option.
was going to ask you, what would your tips be for pro-Israel and Jewish students on college campuses? So that's your number one tip, okay?
Number one tip, pro-Israel Zionist students must run for student government. It's not happening enough. We try to push as many of them to run. Just on Friday, we got the result that Maya, on the board of students supporting Israel at Columbia University, just was elected to become the student body president for the General Studies College at Columbia University. When you hear about what happens at Columbia, which is complete madness in the past week, there is also some good news. A member of SSI, a student body president for one of the colleges. Okay, same as Tessa in UC Santa Barbara. On the other hand, in St. Louis, we lost the election for student government presidency. But we want as many and we suggest and we call all the Israel organizations, when you have pro-Israel students or Zionist students, Jewish, non-Jewish alike, push them towards student government. That's one of our only options to take over those student governments. And we need more. Our numbers are, of course, nowhere close to the numbers of the opposition, which is a mismatch on the numbers. But in student governments, we need to be there. And second, we need to propose our own resolutions. We cannot wait until something bad happens. We need to take Brandeis University, UC Santa Barbara University as examples. Hopefully soon we'll hear also some good news in a few other universities in the South. But we need to propose our own resolutions. And if they pass one resolution in California, let's pass one resolution in Texas. If they pass one resolution in New York or DC, let's pass a resolution in Alabama or somewhere else. There is a contrary, there is an opposite side where we can succeed and not just be defensive. So that's our two approaches, because Jewish students cannot rely anymore on having friends or partners in the student government. We have seen right now that it was not necessarily proven to be successful. We need to be the voices that sit at the table.
Amazing. Ilan Sinelnikov, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course, thank you very much. Have a great day.